Hello, good evening, everybody, and I salute all the viewers. And again, thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you, Reverend. You observe, you were no, you didn't observe, but I guess you supervise the team, the Catholic team that observed elections on the ground in Cameroon on October 12th. Am I correct?
Well, I wouldn't say I supervised, but I was closely in touch with people involved in that
You
observation and supervision. So, again, the results we kind of put out there are based on reliable sources. So, I stand by them. And again, it is no news that they, they confirm what Cameroonians are asking for, which means the truth of the ballot boxes. So, again, I was not directly involved in the observation system, but
yeah.
I managed to get my data out there. Yes.
Now, tell me, was this observation officially sanctioned by the hierarchy of the church or by an independent group within the church?
Sure. I mean, you probably came across the letter signed by the current president of the Episcopal Conference or the Bishops' Conference, the Catholic Bishops' Conference, who is, who is Bishop Nkea, who is the current Archbishop of Bamenda. He signed a letter, and the letter is public, so there's no, secret about it. He signed that letter in which he said that the Catholic Church dispatched observers who were able to kind of, monitor elections in at least 12,000 plus polling stations. And this is basically about 40%, if not more, of the overall 31,000 polling stations in Cameroon. And that's a lot,
Right.
President-elect Chiroma was able to prove that you only need to cover about 20 or 30 major polling or divisions to be able to say you won the elections in Cameroon. And this is based on ordinary statistics. You don't need to be an expert in statistics to be able to confirm that. And so if the Catholic Church was able to observe in at least 12,000 plus polling stations, they know the truth, and we know the truth. So
What was the total
I'm simply
number of
surprised that
voting stations?
they are not able. Sorry, I'm simply surprised that they are not able or courageous enough to say this is what we saw, and they know that Paul Biya didn't win the election, so they know it, but they're afraid to say.
What was the total number of voting stations nationwide?
At least, it's about 31,000.
31,000, and you were in, did you say 12,000 of them?
At least 12,000 plus, yes. Again, all these statistics are in that letter signed by Bishop Nkea, the Archbishop of Bamenda. And so, yes, these were the numbers we had we got from that letter, which shows clearly that if they wanted to be on the side of truth, they have data. They can publish them. And again, I don't understand why they don't want to do that. Well, or I should say, I understand it clearly. That they are afraid to kind of get in trouble with their friends in power.
So now, if I may ask, When the church orders, because you are here saying, Reverend, Archbishop Nke sanctioned this observers team in Cameroon. When the church orders for an observer team for an election like this, what do they want to, what is behind it? What is the goal behind it?
Well, you would expect, as we have seen in neighboring countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, where, the Episcopal Conference has a nationwide observation, team, and they generally kind of keep a parallel, counting counting of the results, and at the end of the day, they are able to say who won, even if the ruling system doesn't abide by the truth, but they are able to say who won. And that was what I was expecting from the Catholic Church. I mean, again, as you are putting it in that question, why would the church observe an election if it is not to, to reveal the truth of the polling stations? I would imagine that if you are able to kind of dispatch out there people to observe elections in at least, basically half of the polling stations, you should be able to say these are the tendencies we observed out there. And again, they know the truth. And I don't think that today in Cameroon, and even at the international level, there is any issue about who won the elections in Cameroon. Definitely, it's not Paul Biya. Everybody knows it, and they rigged it as usual. The only problem they had this time is that people were, vigilant enough to expose the rigging, and that's their problem. Is I'm not. This is the first elections rigged in Cameroon. This is probably the first election they were not able to hide. To hide their rigging system. And again, I'm disappointed by the way the church is handling the situation. I would have hoped that they will be on the side of the truth by saying this is what we saw. Because the church should be at the service of truth and not at the service of, playing games with a ruthless and, dictatorial and bloodthirsty regime. So, unfortunately, the leadership of the church in Cameroon today is not rising to the challenges we expect them, to the current challenges. So I'm hoping that the people will continue to resist and reclaim their sovereignty, their victory, their stolen.
Yeah, talking about the church not rising to the current challenges. You have a church that sanctions an observer team to monitor the election. And right after the elections are over, general opinion is that the elections are rigged and stolen. But the first person, the first dignitary, foreign dignitary to go to the Unity Palace to congratulate the loser who rigged the election is the apostolic nuncio, the Catholic bishop, the leader, the representative of the Pope in that country, and it is his organization that has sanctioned this. Are there any differences on disparities, disagreements between the Nkes and the apostolic nuncios? What is going on?
Well, I think this is insensitive and unwelcome diplomacy, because diplomacy is not made to hide the truth, well, but the problem is that that's how they're trained. They're trained to just, to kind of just go with the official discourse. Just align with the official powers that be, because they don't want to get into trouble. But I don't think that's the role of the church in any. That's why I was pleased with the reaction of the in the cathedral the other day. That was a wake up call from below, from the congregation, telling these guys, watch out. We are not just going to sit here and listen to any rubbish coming from anybody claiming to be the representative of the Pope. Well, you can do your business, but don't ask us to swallow it. And I think that was a very good reaction. I'm just hoping he got the message and that she is digesting it. But diplomacy should, at the end of the day, be at the service of truth. And even if you don't want to be at the service of the truth, just keep quiet. She didn't need to call out name on the pulpit saying this one is the representative of that one. I mean, that wasn't necessary there. If you are preaching, just preach the gospel. You don't go out there. Again, the other day I was saying, on another channel, I was saying that I don't imagine Jesus in a synagogue saying, His Excellency Pilate, His Excellency Herod, His Excellency, I don't know what, before he gives a homily. You don't need that in a church. And why do we need the representative of any president in the church that is being consecrated? And again, this is not, these guys, they lack, they are not sensitive to the suffering and to the struggles of the people. You don't bring somebody like that. You don't name somebody like Paul Biya, calling him President of the Republic of Cameroon, in a place like Bamenda, when people know what they have suffered at the hands of this guy. Just preach your gospel and go away. I think, again, I'm thinking that the bishops have not been, some of the bishops have not been helping him understand the current situation in Cameroon. But he should be intelligent enough to know what is happening in this country. And again, I think the reaction was spontaneous.
Yeah.
People told him off in a way. I think it means that the church itself, the base, which is the church itself, is not happy with how the leadership is handling the current situation.
Reverend, hold on there. Let's play the clip. You listen to it, others listen to it. Then you're gonna have some reactions to it, please.
Sure.
Your Excellency, Your Grace Andrew Niki, Archbishop of Amenda, President of the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon. Excellencies, dear brother bishops, the Episcopacy, His Excellency Mr. Francis Faye Yongo, National Coordinator of the CNDDR, Representative of the President of the Republic of Cameroon, His Excellency Paul Biya.
All right, you can hear the jeering there. They're like, who they representative, the president of what? And the guy himself is taken by surprise. And Reverend, when he turns around and says, I am the apostolic nuncio, I am the apostolic nuncio, what is he trying to say there?
Well, he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it because this is again unusual. I've never seen that in a Catholic church. A nuncio, being bowed by the public. And that's the voice of the people. That's the voice of the people. And the voice of the people is the voice of God. And you cannot, again, let me just recall that just before the elections, Mr. Ngongo, who is the Secretary General of the presidency, he was inviting all these groups, including religious leaders, to Yaoundé, to the palace there. I mean, he was talking. I mean, he was like saying he was consulting. I mean, this, we all know it was a foolish game. But the episcopate, the bishops, you know, they went to that invitation. They went to that invitation, and at the end of it, they said, well, they were siding for peace, let elections be peaceful, and let the truth be the truth of the ballot boxes be told, and things like that. They were there. I mean, a group of bishops went to that meeting, and it was controversial. I mean, people kind of said, well, was it not, I mean, was it a good you know, response? Was it fitting to go to that kind of meeting? But at the end of the day, we said, well, if they were simply being polite with the powers that be, well, let's see what happens with the elections. Now, so you respond to the call of the people in power. And now, after elections, people are crying out there that they stole our sovereignty. And you don't respond to the voice of the people. I mean, which kind of shepherds are those? You only, I mean, you are only sensitive to the powers that are in place and the corrupt system, and they know it. And you can't respond to the call of the people when they are crying out for justice, for truth, to be told. I mean, I don't understand how the current, you know, Bishop Conference is behaving. And I simply regret the days of Cardinal Toomey, because he will be out there saying, well, say the truth, speak up and tell the truth to the people. I mean, tell people what happens in the ballot boxes. And they are not doing that. So I'm really disappointed with the current leadership of the church in Cameroon, and even the electoral crisis. We are talking about violence. We are talking about people who lost their lives, at least 40-something people who died. And they're unable at least to call, I mean, to challenge the military. The military doesn't go out to kill. The military is out to protect. We are not hearing them. I mean, where are they? They are just busy organizing their ceremonies, big ceremonies and things like that. I mean, either you are the Church of Christ, which is always on the siding with the poor, with the downtrodden, with the oppressed, with the orphan, with the poor, with the widow, or you are the church siding with the powerful. And at that point, we have to ask the right question: why? Why are they unable to side with the truth? Why are they to side with justice, to defend the people entrusted to them by God? You know, because the gospel says the good shepherd gives his life for the shepherd. I mean, for the sheep,
for the flock. Yes.
But you don't side with the wolf who is out to destroy, to be killed, to eat the sheep. So again, there is something that, again, that's why I'm happy with the reaction of the congregation during that. And of course, today, because, you know, a few days after that ceremony, a number of priests and religious nuns were captured and kidnapped in the Northwest, and are still in captivity. And what I hear is that people are not, I mean, they were captured and they are in captivity because people are not happy with how the leadership of the church has been handling the current situation. But I just hope that those who are holding them will be sensitive to know enough to the dignity of human life, and that they don't kill them. So my prayer and thoughts are with them, but my prayer also and thoughts are with all the families who lost their loved ones, not only the thousands of the Anglophone crises, but also, the dozens who have just lost their life, what you could call today the Francophone crisis.
Now, Cameroon is inviting the Pope for an official visit. What are you hearing? Do you see the Pope accepting the invitation, or do you think he may weigh the situation and decide otherwise?
Well, I mean, I was one of the first to write an open letter to the Pope and say, don't come to Cameroon now. And basically for the same reasons you have just given in your monologue. That if people are busy trying to get him to Cameroon just to legitimate an illegitimate government. And so I didn't only publish my open letter in the local newspaper. I sent a copy to Rome, and I'm hoping that because in recent days, including yesterday, even today, there are a few other groups who are publishing, who are kind of getting out open letters to the Pope, asking him not to, to accept the invitations. Again, we are dealing here with a church which is trying to bring the Pope to Cameroon. Well, nobody is against, and I will be probably the first not to be against the Pope visiting Cameroon. And
what is the position of the Catholic clergy in Cameroon? Are they all in support of the Pope visit at this moment? Because I know the apostolic nuncio he seems like a whole different entity on its own. Then the local church leadership seems like a whole different entity on its own.
Yes. Well, what I can tell you for sure is that there were emissaries of the Vatican, envoys from Vatican, which came over to Cameroon 2 weeks ago to hold a meeting with local a possible visit the Pope to Cameroon, and which makes me think, because they came to Douala, they met with the Archbishop of Douala, which means that the current leadership is open to inviting the Pope to come, and that's generally through the nuncio. But what we are trying to do now is to, dissuade the Pope, to kind of, persuade the Pope not to come now. Because if he comes now, they will use his image, to legitimize an illegitimate government.
Yes.
And I think this is the time when people, not just the few who are writing to Vatican, many more people should write to the Vatican and say, this is not the time. We want you, Pope Leo, but not now. Wait until we solve the issue of the legitimate government in Cameroon before you can come, and people will be happy to have you in Cameroon. But if we are only relying on the clergy, well, again, the bishops and the nuncio will do their best to bring him to Cameroon, because it's good for their CV. They will be able to say, well, it is when I was a nuncio that the Pope visited Cameroon. It is when I was an archbishop that the Pope visited Cameroon. And this is good for their CVs, but not good for Cameroon. That's why people, again, as they did in Bamenda, should be able to write to the Pope and say, not now, His Holiness.
Now, let's get back to the subject of election monitoring. You came out, you tabulated your own results as giving you, supplied you poll to poll, and you said you are very sure of the data. Can you explain to us how your data was collected and put together, because you seem to be so sure what you have is exactly what happened on the ground? What makes you so confident the results you were supplied with were the real thing?
Well, again, as you know, that was the major difference this time compared to to previous elections, is that Cameroonians understood that the only way to know the truth about election results was to monitor polling station by polling station, and that's and they what they did is that this time around they managed to to kind of get those results out there before they are sent to any divisional commission or things like that. And that's basically what we kind of did also, which means that these results were immediately recorded after the results. And as you know, the electoral law says that results should be made public in any given polling station immediately after, when they close the voting in any polling station. And it was as simple as that people collected polling station by polling station the official results, and it was just a matter of putting in an Excel frame, and you get it. And again, this is, if you compare it to the results of Chiroma's team, convergences are striking. And I just kind of challenge Elekam to prove us wrong. And you will see that Elekam never tried to publish any polling station
by polling station results.
Polling station, yes. They will never do that because they will be confounded. They know that that will just, betray their. Elekam is a fraud system. Fraudulent system. We know that, they know that, and they can't challenge our results. They can't challenge the results put out by because it would have been very easy, to manifest the truth. Chiroma said, "These are my results," and the Elekam should simply have said, "No, you are wrong. These are our results, and this is how we, gathered those." They can't do that because they are wrong. And again, I'm confident that Biya has never won any election properly in this
country. He has never.
They were unlucky this time that people were able to put out the fraud. To put out that fraud, and they know that they are illegitimate. They know it.
Do you see a situation where the Pope can say to Cameroon or to Elekam, why not go ahead and publish these results polling station by polling station if peace will prevail in the country? Using his weight to climb down on them and say, publish the results if that will bring back peace into the country. Do you see the Pope coming in from that angle?
Well, Mr. Chris Anu, it all depends on what these guys are telling you. Because the Pope is the Pope of the whole Catholic Church in the world. He has how many countries to handle and how many. And of course, he depends on the nuncio and the bishop conference to tell him the truth. So that's why I just don't understand how, when people are busy trying to reclaim their sovereignty, their stolen sovereignty, the Catholic in Cameroon is mainly commending the Pope to Cameroon, again, for their CVs. Because I don't see, the Pope is not going to come and solve the problem, for Cameroonians. That's not his role. He only rely as a world religious figure on what he's being told. If the nuncio is telling him, "Oh, well, come because things are okay," if the bishops' conference is telling him, "Well, don't worry, we can handle the situation," what popes do? I mean, he would just say, "Well, I'm going for a pastoral visit to Cameroon." That is why, again, I'm insisting on the fact that Cameroonians, especially Catholics, should, as many as possible, write to the Vatican and say, "This is not the time, His Holiness. We want you in Cameroon, but not now." If not, the Pope will simply abide by what he will hear from the nuncio and from the Bishops' Conference. And that will not help us because these guys in power. I don't just understand how the Bishop Conference can invite the Pope to Cameroon to visit somebody who has been, to shake hands with somebody who has been in power for 42 years, who has been mistreating his own people, who has just allowed his military. And again, this is just coming to add up to the thousands who have died in the Anglophone crisis. Just of recent, allow his military to kill at least 40 poor people just asking for the truth of the elections in the streets. And these are poor people. Because again, just to comment on what you were saying about Chiroma's strategy, I completely agree with you that I don't understand that sort of revolutionary approach. I have studied, my discipline is sociology and anthropology, and I have studied political sociology, the sociology of revolutions. The momentum is crucial to the success of any revolution. You don't start a revolution, you go and take a siesta, and you come back and continue revolution. Well, I listened to my fellow panel member who was saying that they have a clear strategy who will get them to a 2D by December. Well, again, I believe in miracles, but the revolutions do not work that way. Remember that those who went into the streets protesting were poor people. They were not middle class.
Right.
They were not this bourgeoisie political class. They were poor people who are the victims of this system. And I think that the urgency, the emergence and the urgency of the cause was that Chiroma should have done what he could to keep them on the streets, manifesting, asking for their. When you go and take a siesta and come back and say, "Well, we are on track, we'll get things done," well, you are dealing here with a devilish system. And they control the military. Again, I don't know, maybe they have, they know what they're talking about. But we know what this regime is capable of in terms of violence and even cruelty. So I don't really believe that this soft approach to the revolution happening in Cameroon is going to bear any results. Well, let's just hope that we are wrong and that those who are advising Chiroma are right. But I've studied enough to know that you don't run a revolution like that. But well, let me just stop there.
Let me get, Reverend, you stay in there. Let me get Emmanuel to come back in and respond to that, because he seemed to be saying, no, don't be worried, not to be worried. Everything is coming up okay. Emmanuel, you heard the Reverend there express the same sentiments that I expressed in my monologue. And that's how the Cameroonian people feel.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask the Reverend if the revolution we studied were conducted in an unlawful country as Cameroon is, a country that was delivered to Satan, where the political personnel is recruited after sodomy, it's good to study revolutions, but it's also good not to apply systematically your studies or your views to any situation, any nation, regardless of the situation, the culture, the circumstances, and the kind of government we're talking about. That's the first thing. Just because something never happened doesn't mean that it will not happen. That's neither a scientific nor a spiritual approach, because God himself has in check things that we don't know. Okay? And when it comes to good, God has a lot in check to surprise Satan, because Satan wants you to do things that he already knows. That's what I'm saying to my fellow preacher, because I'm also an apostle of Christ. Okay? So that's the point. Wars are also won out of surprise, out of uncommon approach, especially when we come into this kind of circumstances. Now, about sending people in the streets, sending people to take to the streets, and shout, etc. Have you been seeing? Maybe that's your experience. Let me give you just a statistics here from Human Rights Watch that reviews 5 lists compiled by pro-opposition lawyers with the names of 312 people detained since October 26, with 154 yet to be presented before a judge. Among those detained in Yaoundé, at least 6 are being held at the State Defense Secretariat. This is government. This is a legal place. Now, see what they're doing with the law, okay? This is a detention facility where Human Rights Watch, I repeat, has documented routine use of torture. Lawyers told Human Rights Watch that the charges include hostility against the homeland, revolution, rebellion, insurrection. That's what we want people to do. They say the offenses have been applied indiscriminately and are unrelated to the actual acts of protest. Some of these crimes, I repeat, crimes could be punishable with the death penalty. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about sending people indiscriminately to the streets. Lawyers also reported only very limited access to their clients, as well as mistreatment of some of them upon arrest. My fellow priest, Cameroonian is a people that has been knocked down for about, let's say, 100 years. They never raise, never protest. There are layers and layers of persecution on them. It's not easy to assimilate this kind of people to all the nations where revolutions have taken place. We have to take those things into account and admit that, and I'm sure you're intelligent enough to admit that there might be another way, another approach. Even though people in such situations want to see, they want to hear, they want to feel, the energy of people in the streets shouting, etc. But there's not only one way to win wars.
So what are some of the other ways to win wars in a situation where, no amount of voting, no amount of reform, no amount of constitutional changes will give the people any victory? What other option? Because I know you are discounting right now action, isn't it?
Okay, I can summarize this in one sentence. The people of Cameroon have already done what they could, taking into account the state of mind of beaten, knocked down people. Now, the Chirimas people, with the military, with international community and diplomacy, are taking on from here. Thank you, Cameroonians. You have observed 3 days where shops were shut. We have done what we could. We're no longer asking anything from you. We're taking it from here. We have the soldiers, we have the international community, we have the diplomacy. You will see the Bias government down.
Emmanuel, this is where the doubt comes in, because we have heard this talk of international community from the days of John Frundi to Canto to the Amazonian struggle for independence, the international community. It is like they are too hard to hear anybody. We haven't seen them yet, and you are still counting on them.
The international, I understand the frustration, believe me. But this time, there is military by millions ready to act within Cameroon. They are hidden, okay? We shall not tell you everything because we know how it works. But use a little faith, okay? And wait until December. Use a lot of faith. There's also spiritual warfare going on. You know, a war is also won by faith. You know, we heard the priest complain about the situation in Cameroon, the church in Cameroon. This is a corrupt church. Okay? Isaiah 5:20 says, "Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter." In the book of Acts chapter 15, because I believe in the Bible, I don't believe in Catholic Church, but I believe in the Bible. In the book of Acts chapter 15, we have the board of apostles in Jerusalem, led by James, and they were giving the doctrine to the churches. You did not have rogue churches out there doing what they want, making decisions, applauding illegal governments, etc. No, the Pope should be like James, the chief of the apostles of Jerusalem. They would gather, the 12 would gather, they would study the doctrine, and they will send out the apostles as Paul and Barnabas were sent out to the churches to deliver the doctrine to the churches. We call that unity of church. So we have to consider the context. Listen, the people of Cameroon don't even talk. The people of Cameroon.
Emmanuel, I don't think you are saying anything different from what the Reverend Lado has said. He has acknowledged that the church is not doing the right thing. But now the question is, the church is not doing the right thing. What is the leadership of this revolution prepared to do that people can see and put their hopes on?
Give President-elect Chiroma up to December to prove his process.
Okay.
Point blank.
That's a fair point.
Use a little faith. And this time it's not only international community, there's also military. We never had before. John Frundi didn't have military. You know, the other opponents would never had military with them. So it's many layers. It's not only diplomacy, it's not only international community, it's also the military. There's something huge that is ready to strike this government. So use a little faith, give us 1 month. I understand that the process is uncommon. They don't have a website. They don't have the beautiful house on top of the mountain with the light where people can see where the revolution is being done. Okay? I agree with that. It's not easy, but give 1 month to the process and use some faith. Go out and pray. I've been praying, interceding for this nation for 2 years. I never came back to Cameroon because God told me that Biya sold this nation to Satan and that there is no justice. You cannot even open a church because they will ask you to give your ass. Sorry to speak that way. When there is no justice, you cannot build anything. So I love this country. I'm looking forward, if I've not gone into the rapture of the true church, to going back there. But there's a work that's going to be done that is uncommon. The process is uncommon. Just accept that things are not done the way you've learned in school, the way you have observed in sociology, the way that revolutions are made. I understand that. But I tell you, this is a new chapter to add to your knowledge and to your book concerning revolutions. It's the Cameroonian revolutions by the people, for the people, but this time it is the military and the people around Chiroma that who are taking it from here. We don't ask people to go in the street and get shot. Again, that's just finished. We don't want people to get killed. We take it from here. And you will see the result by December when this regime will be toppled.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I think that's quite what people out there want to hear. Do you know the level of the Cameroon military commitment on the ground? I mean, those who are ready and who have already enrolled to support this revolution.
Well, I can tell you that there is a division among the military in Cameroon because the government realized that hundreds of thousands, let's say 10,000 of soldiers are against Biya, and they realized that there is a division among the army. Now, we have another army that is working with President-elect Chiroma that has been recruiting from the national army, especially those who have been denied weapons because they are not from the south. Because this regime has a fear that the soldiers coming from north, shall revolt. So they're not giving them the weapons. But don't worry, we have a huge number, by millions of soldiers who are prepared to help topple this government. Is acted, things are ready. Okay? There's a timeline that is secret, but there's no worries about the soldiers. They have been proposed 600,000 euros. They have the money. We have a huge amount of money that has come from all over the world to finance everything. The Biya's government is going to run dry because the international organization that was lending the money have stopped lending the money because we have sent dossiers to show them that the money received by Biya's government is used to kill people. And so they will no longer have money to finance the Israeli mercenaries, to pay the salaries of the soldiers, even the beer. There is a revolt among the beer now because people are not getting paid, and some people are paid more than others. So that's the point. They won't even have an army to stand before us.
All right. Let me turn over to Reverend Father Ludovic to maybe respond to some of the points that you made, and then we will open the phone lines and hear from the audience. Reverend, go on, please.
I just want to say something. I praise the Reverend for his position concerning the church in Cameroon. That was very bold and courageous, and I praise him for that.
Thank you. Reverend, go on, please.
Well, again, of course, this is we're trying to kind of envision the future of a country. And again, I just hope that Mr. Emmanuel is right in his, he's so confident about what is coming in the next few weeks, because December is not very far. And again, just hope that he's right and that Cameroon will be liberated by December. But again, as a university lecturer, as a sociologist, I definitely tend to abide by what I've learned, which is based on experience. Of course, God can always work miracles. But, I don't think that the situation in Cameroon is worse than it was in the French Revolution, than it was in the American Revolution. And I think people are hoping for a clean revolution in Cameroon. It doesn't exist anywhere. It doesn't exist anywhere. Again, maybe God will make that happen in Cameroon. But a clean revolution doesn't exist anywhere. People die and pay the price for any revolution anywhere. That's what history tells us. But again, if he believes that there is a blueprint for Cameroon, and which makes it that God will intervene, the angels will come down and topple down the Bia's regime and get Chiroma to Etudi. Well, I'm happy to follow him on that, because that's my hope also. That's my wish. But I don't believe in any easy spiritualization of any political instantiation or any political process. So I would definitely continue to be cautious about the way this the process is evolving, and challenge who needs to be challenged on how it is being led. Because again, Cameroonians need to stand up for their rights and pay the price to be free. It is that way everywhere, and history, that's what history, just take the case of the Anglophone crisis. I don't trust any international community. I don't trust any international community, basically because look at what is happening in Gaza. If they had to rely on the international, it's all about interest. And so if if Cameroonians sleep in their rooms and think that the international community will rise for them, it is a waste of, it is illusion. And,
yeah.
And again, I beg to disagree with Mr. Mote on this, but I think Cameroonians, if they want freedom, they must fight for it and pay the price. Even the Bible we read, why did Jesus die? He died because he stood, the grounds of his principle. And if you believe in freedom and truth and justice and truth, you will pay the price, and it is death. We can't just go and sleep in our rooms or sit comfortably in our, abroad, and think that the angels will come down and topple the regime. This military he's talking about, well, again, I hope he knows what he's talking about. But I don't believe in any easy revolution. No revolution is clean. And I wish and I hope that the Cameroonian revolution, as Mr. Moto is saying, will be clean, because, again, he believes that angels will come and help us move that regime out of Cameroon. Yes, that's my reaction.
All right.
Well,
right.
Listen. We told you that there is a warfare and soldiers already for war. So there will be bloodshed, but amidst soldiers against soldiers. Okay? I will remind you that 3,000 people have died from military bullets already in Cameroon. So you cannot say that no one died. 3,000 people at least have died at this point in Cameroon because they went out of the one they took to the streets for protest. So that's one thing you cannot deny, that 3,000 people died. Second, what we're saying that there is a war that is coming up, and it will be waged by military soldiers against soldiers. The Biya soldiers will fight Chiroma soldiers. Okay? That's why I said we're taking it from here, people of Cameroon. From our point of view, enough of you have died already. And people are not sitting. Remember that the president-elect asked people to observe a whole day for mourning, and and people can come out peacefully in the streets for manifestation. They don't need to go into a situation where they're going to get shot. There are many ways to wage war and revolution. So in conclusion, the next step is between military, and there will be bloodshed amid soldiers, but no longer the people.